Hi, it's Dr. Steve from Misericordia University, and welcome to our last class, the review and wrap-up session for EDU553, the graduate course Principles of Instructional Design. In this session, let's spend just a few minutes doing some review and some wrap-up and to get you ready for the end of our course. As we wrap up this semester, let's review some things to remember when designing instruction. Remember Gagne's model. Start by gaining attention to draw the learner in to the training. Then inform the learner of the objectives. Then review and recall any prerequisite information. Then the 4 steps that will be repeated as we present the training. Present the stimulus in a small chunk, provide some guidance, elicit some performance, get them to do something to engage with the content, and then provide feedback. We'll take that as one step, one chunk of information, then go back to step 4, present another small chunk of information, provide guidance, elicit performance, and provide feedback. And then, as we approach the end of the training module, assess performance and enhance retention and transfer. In other words, remind learners of how this content will be applicable and how it relates to what they've already learned and what they may learn in the future. So more specifically, after those opening events, Gagne's events 1 through 3, then present a small chunk, a small block of instruction, one concept. It's something that represents one learning performance objective. Present information, present an example, elicit performance, provide feedback. You analyzed your learners. You performed a needs assessment. Now, use this information as you design instruction. You know about your learner. Work to gain and maintain learner attention throughout the training module because that's critical. And again, use that information you know about the learners to design those attention-getting pieces. Involve the students actively in learning. Critical. And then remember what we learned about the brain and design to reduce cognitive overload. Remember the magic number, 7 plus or minus 2 elements. Use metaphors and analogies to bridge existing and new knowledge. Use mnemonics to help students remember things that they just have to know, critical information they have to memorize. As you're designing, remember the power of emotion. Remember to eliminate any negative aspects of emotion. And then remember to engage learner emotions to enhance their memory. When we say to engage their emotions, make something interesting, incorporate some type of emotional content, some emotional response to something, because it doesn't matter if the emotions that are being generated by the learner are positive or negative, if they're anger, if they're thrilled with something, if their curiosity is invoked and they're excited and their interest. Any emotion, when it's tied to content, will help to enhance memory. To emphasize one last time, one of the most critical parts of training in technology-facilitated training module is to embed questions or in some way engage learners with the content. Keep the blocks of instruction small, embed some kind of practice or question or something that they do where they have to engage with that content, and you elicit performance from them and then provide feedback. When you provide feedback, don't forget to tell them what they got wrong and why, but also tell them what they got right and why, so that we can clear up any fuzzy understandings of the content. As you incorporate more interactivity into your lesson, It's very positive because it's going to turn your passive learners into active participants. Instead of just reading, they will engage with the instruction. When you do this, you open up more channels through which learning can occur. How can you reinforce and practice the content? There are so many ways. The key here is to engage them, have them think of something, do something. Just don't have them reading or just simply watching. You could link to an online game. You could link to a simulation, link to a website where they can pursue something, research it a little deeper or see an example. Link to a video so they can watch an example or see something in action. You could ask them simply to pause and think about something. You could prompt them to write something down. So you could provide them with a worksheet as part of training and prompt them to write down certain responses on that worksheet. Or you could link to a Word document which can be saved or printed out and shown to a proctor. As you design instruction, remember to glean from what you learn through your front-end analysis and apply it in the design of instruction. You did a needs assessment. You learned about your learners. You learned about the task. So you're very specific in your knowledge about what exactly someone has to do to perform that task appropriately and successfully. And then you based objectives on all of this information. And those objectives, that's where you can base assessment directly on those, as Dick and Carrie suggest. So don't forget to refer back to your front-end analysis as you're designing your instructional prototype. At this point, you have probably either submitted your high-level design document consisting of the executive summary, the needs analysis, the learner analysis, the task analysis, and your objectives. If not, you're probably about to submit that. The rest of the final grade for the project will be based on your instructional prototype. So we'll base it on the instructional module itself, on the cognitive practices that you engage in throughout the learning module, and also we have to judge the overall effectiveness. Will learners actually learn through the way that this instruction is designed? You can find an actual detailed rubric in Blackboard. As we come to the finish line, so to speak, for this semester, let's engage in several short remote activities, several reflections. The first one, what have you learned? How are you changed because of what you've learned? And here are a couple of guiding questions to help you think through this and reflect on the learning from this semester. Our second brief reflection will be application to your teaching or training situation. Write a brief reflection on how can you apply instructional design to your classroom. Is there a need for training modules where you work? Are there elements of instructional design that you can transfer into face-to-face teaching? Will knowledge of instructional design principles change something that you do? And realize that we're all teachers. Even if you're not employed as a classroom teacher, how can you apply the content and skills learned in this course to your professional and/or personal life? Whether you are designing instruction to be held synchronously or asynchronously, you know that both the technology as well as the pedagogy and teaching techniques are always changing. Therefore, it's important for teachers and trainers to stay up to date with the changing technology. In this brief reflection, please reflect and make a comment on the following. How do you plan to continue your learning about online teaching? I provided a couple of possible ways for you to do that to prompt your thinking. For our fourth and final brief reflection, After engaging in a course or any other significant learning experience, it serves well to plan your next steps. This activity will capitalize on your reflection, and it will help you turn your thoughts into practical steps to ensure that you leverage what you have learned. Having come successfully through this course, provide an action plan of steps for implementing change. What are several steps that you can take in your practice as a result of this new learning? And again, if you're not teaching or training right now, how do you plan to translate the competencies gained through this course to improve your professional and/or personal life? So as we sum up and wrap up our course, I sincerely hope that you enjoyed this course. I look forward to viewing your final project and to us sharing final projects from all of the learning participants in our course. Watch for emails and communications as to how we're going to wrap up this course. And realize that not only have you finished this course, but I hope that you will never see teaching or training the same way again. Thanks for your kind attention.